So I got people coming here. Well, you're still, because Dr. V was.
Welcome, everybody. We're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. The roll call from our city clerk, Kathy Valdez.
The record shall reflect that all members are present.
Thank you. Our Deputy Mayor O'Donnell is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight.
Please rise if you're able and remove your hats. You may begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, our city clerk has some procedural items to cover.
Thank you, Mayor. In accordance with the Brown Act, I'd like to announce that as a result of convening simultaneous meetings, the members of the Buena Sanitation District will receive compensation of $147.75 for the district meeting pursuant to Buena Sanitation District Ordinance 2006-1. I would like to remind everyone that the Vista Municipal Code requires members of the public to observe order and decorum at the meeting and to conduct themselves in a courteous manner. The ordinance was adopted to allow for public input and to facilitate city business without disruption of the meeting. Applause is appropriate for items listed under the presentation portion of the agenda only. Students wishing to receive credit for attending this evening's meeting must stay for a minimum of 1 hour. However, we ask that you stay for the completion of an item rather than leaving in the middle of a discussion. When you are ready to leave, you may ask one of the staff members at the back of the room to sign your paper. Thank you.
Okay, to speak on an item on the agenda this evening, please fill out a speaker slip with the number of the item you'd like to speak on and give it to the clerk secretary staff here at the dais. Speaker slips are available on the table just outside the chamber doors. For members of the public participating via Zoom, you may use the raise your hand feature to indicate you'd like to speak or touch *9 on your phone. We will announce when to raise your hand to indicate you'd like to make a comment on the specific item being discussed. Speakers will have 3 minutes to address the city council. Now we'll go to our city manager, John Conley, for approval of tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. The revised agenda has no changes, but to note, we did earlier this week remove an item related to the Moonlight Concessionaire Award, which will come back at a later date. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one presentation this evening, and I'd like to invite my fellow council members to join me at the podium for that presentation. All right, tonight we are pleased to present a proclamation declaring April 2026 as Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month in the City of Vista. Accepting the proclamation this evening are representatives from our Public Arts Commission. We have with us Vice Chair Carrie Jobe, Commissioner Amanda May Fitzgerald, Commissioner Susan Stuber, Commissioner Carrie Winchester, and Youth Commissioner Ivan Arce. Would you come on down and thank you. You're welcome. Yes, come on down. Hi there. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Hi there. How are you? Good to see you.
Thank you for all your work. Good to see you. Thank you.
Who would like to hold it?
Let's see. Okay, our proclamation reads, whereas Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month in April marks the 8th annual statewide celebration first established by the legislature in 2019, whereas the City of Vista recognizes that arts, culture, and creativity are essential public goods, vital for the health and growing, thriving communities, bringing joy by uniting communities, inspiring individuals, and celebrating the richness of our city's diversity. Arts, culture, and creativity shape neighborhood character, attract tourism, foster civic pride, and contribute to public safety, social well-being, and local economic growth by stimulating business activity, creating jobs and workforce opportunities, and serving as essential pillars for small business. Creativity sparks innovation, provides youth with well-rounded education, and equips our future workforce with critical skills and civic values. The City of Vista, with the support from the Public Arts Commission, will lead the effort to advance the arts through programs, partnerships, and cross-sector intergenerational initiatives, including integrating pop-up art throughout the month of April. The City of Vista and Public Arts Commission collaborate with major state-level arts agencies, including the California for the Arts. And whereas these collective efforts at the local, regional, and state levels promote innovation, prosperity, equity, and enrich the lives of all Californians, now therefore, I and the members of the Vista City Council encourage all who live, work, and visit Vista to join in celebration and do hereby proclaim April 2026 and each April thereafter as Arts, Culture, and Creativity Month in the City of Vista. All right. Would you like to take a picture with us? Good. All right. Yeah. Everybody join us for a photo.
Thank you. Please give me the picture. Say my name in the mic. Or did you? Okay. The Vista Arts Council or Committee would like to encourage everyone to check out the events that we've curated. We have a calendar. There's things pretty much daily that you can check out. You can look at vista.gov/arts, or if you can pick up one of these flyers, you can scan the QR code and see what's happening around town and partake in the arts.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, a huge thank you to all of our commissioners who serve for free as volunteers to the city and for all those who support them. Thank you all. All right, any member of the public may address the city council on agency-related matters that are not on the agenda by requesting to speak during this section of the agenda. If you're participating via Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature now or press *9 if you'd like to speak. The number of speakers heard during this segment is limited to 10. Any remaining speakers will be heard under the second oral communications item if there are more than 10. Do we have any requests? Looks like we have somebody on Zoom. We have Jill Bates on Zoom.
Hello, City Council. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. So what I was hoping to present to you guys today was potentially we could introduce a White History Month for our city. I've noticed in the past that we do have a Black History Month. We have essentially a history month for everyone. We have a Gay Pride History Month. But we don't have a White History Month, and I found that to be really concerning, especially considering that white people essentially built the entire country that we live in. White people are the vast majority of the people that live within the country, and it just seems very disingenuous that we have a Black History Month when they haven't really done much other than, I guess, destroy and, I guess, harm our community other than, and we refuse to represent white people with a White History Month. So I would like the council to potentially consider that some noteworthy inventions of white people that I'm sure that you use every day would include the car. I'm sure that you use that to transport yourself every day. What about your telephone that you use to communicate with all of your loved ones? That was created by a white person as well. How about what about guns? That was created by white people. You name pretty much everything. It was created by a white person. It seems insane that we celebrate retarded third worlders when we don't even celebrate the people that, essentially make up our entire country. So I think that we as a town could be the very first ever to introduce a White History Month, and it would be groundbreaking. Nobody else does this, and I find that very infuriating. And there are a ton of other white people within the country that feel likewise. Very just recently we had a young man that had been stabbed by a violent ape at a football game, and this young man was a rising football star, and the black community was crying racism and all sorts of discrimination against this feller, because he decided to go out and murder a white person because they were white. And so while all of you boomers might think that this is great and we're so inclusive and we are doing so many great things for our community by refusing to celebrate the accomplishments of white people, I find it disingenuous, because without white people, the world would be much worse off. Currently, our country is less than 50% white. Okay. Back in the 1960s, it was over 90% white. This means that white people are being effectively removed from the country. And if you guys don't see this, I don't know what to tell you. You can look at the stats. Why do we celebrate blacks when they represent 13% of the population, yet 60% of the murder? What about homosexuals who they are more likely to rape children? They are more likely to have STDs.
That's their time. Cut them off. We live in a great country where you have a First Amendment right to speak your mind and a Brown Act right to speak to us, but we don't associate ourselves with such repugnant remarks. I'm sure none of us here on the council do. Let's see, our next speaker is Brenton Tarrant.
Good evening, gentlemen. Okay. The godfather of the European Union, Richard Coudenhove-Kalergi, published the plan for a united Europe and the ethnocide of the peoples of Europe. The encouragement of mass non-white immigration was central to the plot. This was to America as well. Since then, an unholy alliance of leftists, capitalists, and Zionist supremacists has schemed to promote immigration and mass miscegenation with the deliberate aim of breeding out the white Europeans that built this country and built Europe in our own homelands. Listen, we got to stop this Kalergi plan. That white people are currently being replaced. We're a 7% minority. And just one more thing. Kill all niggers, kill all niggers, kill all niggers, kill
Cut this
all
person off. Cut this person off. Okay, we're not going to tolerate. You have a right to say even morally repugnant things, but you don't have a right to threaten to kill people or violence or use any profanity. So any person that engages in any threats of violence or calls for violence is going to be cut off, or any profanity. Let's see, next is John Snow.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, I would like to read a passage by the great American George Lincoln
Is
Rockwell.
this the same person that was Jill Bates?
He says, if anybody will
Same
put up
voice?
the money for the experiment, I can prove that hatred of race mixing is not just prejudice, but a result of knowledge. By taking the most liberal, which I think of California, you guys are a bunch of faggots over there.
Okay, cut this person off.
Profanity is permitted, but threats of violence is not. These people's voices are shaking, if you haven't noticed.
Does that person, city attorney, does that person have a right to speak if they're using that kind of language? Okay, city attorney is.
Could we get a word from our city attorney on that?
He just said they don't have a right to use that
I
kind of
would
language.
love a further explanation, thank you.
As I heard him speak it, I felt it was being used for intimidation purposes. So I view it as the way he was using his speech was for threat purposes.
Thank you for that explanation.
Okay. The next person is S.A. Satanyanga Sangari on Zoom. S.A.
Sir, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, this is the
Can
same.
you hear me, sir?
This is the same person over and over again. Yeah, cut this person
Sir,
off.
can you hear me? You totally butchered my name. This is racist. I'm Indian.
Yeah, cut this person off.
Edgelords, come to city council.
Madison Rapp.
Hi, sorry. Thank you for cutting those people off. I just wanted to briefly share some findings from a recent article in the Wall Street Journal highlighting what new science is telling us about teen cannabis use. One of the most concerning conclusions is that even low-level marijuana use during adolescence is associated with measurable harm. Researchers looking at more than 460,000 teens found that even using cannabis once a month or less was linked to higher rates of depression, anxiety, and other psychiatric disorders. The teenage brain is still developing. THC, the psychoactive component in marijuana, affects areas of the brain responsible for decision making, emotional regulation, and reward processing. Doctors now say they cannot identify a level of teen cannabis use that appears free of negative effects. Today's marijuana products are also far stronger than what previous generations were exposed to. Cannabis flower decades ago contained about 3 to 5% THC. Now many products sold in permitted marijuana shops, especially vapes and concentrates, can reach 90% THC. These products are easy to hide, easy to use, and easy for young people to access through older friends or siblings. Mental health professionals are also seeing teens develop dependence quickly, sometimes within weeks, with withdrawal symptoms including anxiety, depression, and sleep disruption. As adults, we should take seriously what this generation of research is telling us and be cautious about policies that increase youth exposure and normalize marijuana use in our community. Thank you.
Next is Judy String. She not here anymore? Okay, we'll come back to Judy String. Caller with the phone number ending in 7234.
Good evening, Vista City Council. My name is Terry Ann Skelly, and I called in to share the information from last month, from a Healthy Heart Month. I received as a health educator from the county's Health and Human Services newsletter. Heart disease remains the leading cause of death here in the United States and Mexico, and the second leading cause of death in San Diego County. The latest data shows 1 in 5 local deaths is from heart disease and is increasing. Dr. T, the county's public health officer, advised to make, and I quote, make small adjustments, like a quick walk every day, choosing to take the stairs, eating more leafy green vegetables and fruits, and quitting smoking and vaping, end quote. The Journal of American Heart Association released this statement, and I quote, cannabis use poses significant heart health risks. It increases the likelihood of heart attack, stroke, and heart failure, even in young, healthy individuals, by accelerating heart rate and raising blood pressure, straining arteries. Both smoking and edibles carry risks with regular use, damaging blood vessels, their function of the blood vessels. Research indicates cannabis users face substantially higher risk comparable to tobacco, end quote. What can policymakers do to decrease heart disease in the residents? Create policies that decrease exposure to secondhand and thirdhand marijuana and tobacco, smoke and vapor, like smoke-free public places and apartment complexes. Thank you for hearing my concerns this afternoon.
Thank you. Dylan Roof.
Fuck niggers, kill niggers, kill niggers, kill niggers, kill niggers.
Cut them off. Okay, we're going to close the opportunity for public comment at this time, and we'll ask our city attorney to review for us all the applicable case law on that and make sure that we're able to promptly cut people off that are using such horrible language and threats of violence. And we have to uphold everybody's First Amendment liberty, but at the same time, we need to know with the use of telephonic comments and Zoom where we can draw the line without endangering the city, risking First Amendment litigation. We need to make sure that we are able to cut people off promptly and not have a lawsuit. Okay, that'll bring us to our consent agenda. The recommendations on the following consent calendar will be enacted in one motion unless an item is removed from the calendar. Any member of the public may remove an item by submitting a request to speak card to the clerk secretary by using the raise your hand feature on Zoom or by pressing *9. Items removed from the consent calendar will be considered immediately following the adoption of the calendar. We have 13 consent items this evening. And
I'd move to accept the consent calendar and also note that the button is mislabeled me as Dan O'Donnell.
uh-oh. It's all right.
It does the same when I.
If he gets 2 votes, I want to have 3. Okay. Is that Councilmember Contreras seeking recognition?
I was just going to second.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
We have a motion, a second. Anybody else seeking recognition? Okay, we have a motion, a second. Please cast your votes.
It's a slow takeover of the entire city.
Okay, so the record will reflect that the vote is unanimous with Councilmember Melendez voting in the affirmative and Councilmember Deputy Mayor voting twice in the affirmative. Not really, only once. Okay, we have 2 public hearings this evening. Public hearing number 1, the first regarding the 2026-2027 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. We are now opening the public hearing. If any members of the public wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise their hand feature by pressing *9 or submitting a request to speak card. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Our Housing and Homeless Service Division Manager, Jonathan Long, will introduce the item.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, and members of the public. This public hearing opens a 30-day public comment period in accordance with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD's, regulations to ensure community participation during the development and adoption of the city's 2026-2027 Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG, Annual Action Plan. Approval of the Annual Action Plan is a 2-step process, with the City Council and Vista residents considering the draft plan as presented tonight, followed by the adoption of the plan at the April 28th, 2026 City Council meeting after all public comments received have been incorporated. Management Analyst Johanna Knief will now provide the staff presentation.
Good evening, City Council members and members of the public. I'm happy to present the draft 2026 through 2027 Annual Action Plan for review and comment. Each annual action plan is driven by a 5-year consolidated plan. The consolidated plan is a 5-year strategic planning document required by HUD that identifies the city's housing, homelessness, and community development needs. It establishes high-level priorities and guides how the city will invest federal CDBG funds over a 5-year period to support affordable housing, suitable living environments, and economic opportunities for low-income populations. Within each consolidated plan are 5 annual action plans to detail how the city will use CDBG funding during each program year. The annual action plans outline individual projects, partners, and performance goals aligned with the priorities in the consolidated plan. The draft annual action plan presented tonight covers program year 26-27, which is year 2 of the consolidated plan cycle. The city established the following priorities for the 2025 through 2029 consolidated plan period to achieve the Department of Housing and Urban Development, or HUD's, vision of providing decent housing, suitable living environments, and expanding economic opportunities. These priorities represent the very needs that emerged during the city's consolidated plan community engagement and development process. This process included qualitative and quantitative data gathered through citizen participation, market analysis, and assessment of localized data. The priorities are, number one, to increase access to affordable housing and housing services to prevent and reduce homelessness, improve housing stability, and support the long-term well-being of residents with low to moderate incomes. Priority two is to enhance public infrastructure and facilities to create safe, vibrant, and inclusive communities and promote accessibility, sustainability, and a high quality of life for residents. And priority three is to expand public services to address the needs of vulnerable populations, including families and children with low to moderate incomes, seniors, and individuals experiencing food insecurity. For this annual action plan, the estimated recommendations for funding are based on the current program year allocation of $976,360. HUD has notified staff that 2026 through 2027 allocations are expected to be announced late March 2026. Based on the funding from the current program year, the CDBG program is estimated to spend approximately $195,000 on program administration, including fair housing services, $146,000 on public service programs, and the remaining $634,000 on capital improvement projects throughout eligible areas of the city of Vista. A request for proposals was published February 2nd through 25th, 2026 for nonprofit organizations to apply for the CDBG subrecipient funding. On March 6, 2026, the CDBG Advisory Committee met and made the following recommendations for funding. The total amount is an estimate based on the public service programs from the current program year. It should be noted that CDBG funds allow for contingency provisions when the final allocation is unknown. Therefore, the advisory committee wishes to fund all organizations equally up to $10,000. If the award allocated from HUD allows for greater than $10,000 per applicant, the advisory committee has determined that any surplus be evenly divided among the top scoring applicants. The top scoring applicants include Boys and Girls Club of Vista, Lifeline Community Services, Operation Hope North County, Palomar Family Counseling Service, Solutions for Change, Townspeople, and Voices for Children. Additionally, CSA will be funded for the full requested $34,000 as it is not subject to the 15% public service program cap. The funding recommendations are listed in the chart here, and the contracts will be in place for the term of 1 year. The agreements include Boys and Girls Club, which provides youth programming, CSA, which is fair housing, Fraternity House, which is residential care for chronically ill residents, Green Oaks Ranch Ministry, which provides transitional housing for women and their children experiencing substance abuse disorders, domestic violence, and homelessness, Heavy Breathing Foundation, which is a youth mentorship programming, Lifeline Community Services, which is transition-aged youth supports, Mama's Kitchen, medically tailored meal delivery service, Meals on Wheels, meal delivery to seniors accompanied by safety check and in-home social visit, Operation Hope, providing shelter and case management services for homeless families and women, Palomar Family Counseling Service, providing counseling and case management services to Vista Unified students, Senior Nutrition Program, which is lunch or meals served at our senior center, Solutions for Change, which provides formerly homeless families with resources they need to achieve long-term stability. Townspeople, funding staff ensures housing stability for participants in the shared housing program in Vista. Vista Community Clinic provides after-school tutoring program for at-risk youth attending Rancho Buena Vista High School. And Voices for Children provides services to foster children by providing them with trained volunteers called court-appointed special advocates, or CASAs. Additionally, the map here shows areas eligible for CDBG capital improvement projects, or CIPs. The Housing and Homeless Services Division, along with engineering staff, evaluate areas of need and focus on areas with high poverty rates, high population densities, and high pedestrian volumes of those traveling to school. This concludes staff presentation. Staff are available to review and receive comments on the proposed annual action plan and to open a 30-day public comment period. A second meeting is scheduled for April 28, 2026 to consider and adopt the annual action plan. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And now we'll take questions. Councilmember Contreras. Oh, I'm sorry, we do have some speakers here. We'll start with Jessica Munoz, followed by Danny Hickey, followed by Michael Delgado. If you heard your name called, would you grab a seat in the front row for us and be ready to speak when you hear your name called?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Jessica Munoz, and I'm the CEO at Voices for Children. We serve San Diego County and, of course, the City of Vista as the local court-appointed special advocate, or CASA program. The most important reason why I'm here this evening is to say thank you for your past report and for the recommendation to continue to allow Voices for Children to receive CDBG funds, and to ask, of course, that you consider following that recommendation. The volunteers that we train and support work individually with children who've been removed from their homes due to abuse or neglect. From the child's perspective, the benefit is a caring, consistent adult during what can be sometimes a scary season or even a very challenging several years. From the system's perspective, it's the benefit of having that adult who has a really unique rapport with the young person that they're serving, who can provide insights to social workers, judges, and others who are making critical decisions so that everything possible can be done to support the child as well as the whole family. The funding that we receive literally makes it possible for us to serve individual children in the City of Vista. And so the dollars that you have invested in our program in the past and that we're asking that you continue to do so make it possible for us to provide resources to children in the short term and help mitigate the effects of trauma in the long term. We're so grateful for your partnership. We're grateful for the city staff who helps us through this process each year, and we hope to continue to work with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Danny Hickey, followed by Michael Delgado, followed by Lisa Archibald.
Hi, my name is Danny, and I'm the Executive Director of Fraternity House. So far during this year, Fraternity House, Inc. has served and housed 48 people with wraparound services and supportive housing. 20 of those people have been served in programming supported by Vista CDBG awards. Each one of those people has been low income, been living with a disability, and been either homeless or experiencing housing instability before coming to us. 65% of those people have moved on to either our semi-independent living programs here in Vista or into complete independent housing. Vista CDBG has been instrumental in supplementing salary costs for our staff who work routinely to ensure clients are remaining healthy, have access to resources in the community, and are improving every day. Vista CDBG has helped us meet and fill a critical gap in housing services for people living with HIV. In the coming fiscal year, that's even more crucial as several local programs are cut or receiving reduced funding. Fraternity House will be receiving 30% less than our largest federal grant, but instead of shrinking our bed count or serving less people, we're doing the opposite. Fraternity House will adapt our programs and add roughly 5 new beds to our programming, even with budget cuts, because the need is so prevalent and programs are being cut or defunded. We're doing this by altering our program implementation, but also because of funding from programs like CDBG through the City of Vista. I'm proud to say that right now 40 of our current beds are in the City of Vista, and I'm grateful for support of the city and for the CDBG program. Thank you for your time and for the folks that dedicated themselves to reviewing the applications and writing recommendations, and for previous support Fraternity House Inc. has received. I look forward to continue serving the vulnerable here in the community.
Thank you, Michael Delgado, followed by Lisa Archibald and Lisa Turner. If you heard your name, please come on down, grab a seat in the front row, please.
I'm Mike Delgado. I am the Executive Director of the Heavy and Breathing Foundation here in Vista. First and foremost, thank you for recommending us for the CDBG funding. If we get it, this will be the first time we received it. Our foundation works with at-risk and underserved youth, many of whom don't have access to community sports, mentorship, or stable support systems. What we do is simple. We use strength training as a tool to teach discipline, accountability, and confidence, while also connecting individuals to real support within the community. We also bring lived experience into that mentorship, which allows us to connect with many of the young people and families we serve in a way that is real, honest, and rooted in understanding. For the past 2 years, we have been doing this work directly here in Vista, actively serving students through partnerships with continuation schools like Alta Vista, MGM, and Innovation High Schools, helping them stay engaged, build structure, and earn the credits they need to graduate. We are also currently in conversations with Vista High School about potentially bringing programs into their free period next school year, which we're excited to continue building towards. Our work has also expanded into community. Our foundation has helped build weight training spaces at the Buena Creek Navigation Center, the Vista House with the Urban Street Angels, and giving individuals something positive to show up for while they're working through difficult situations. Last summer, we ran a successful program at the Vista Boys and Girls Club as well, and we're invited back again this year due to demand from both staff and the students. Right now, we're also in conversations with Casa de Amparo to support and expand the work they're already doing with the youth in our community. This is what collaboration looks like for us. We don't operate alone. We work with other pillars in the community and the city to get the job done. This work is about prevention. If we want to create real impact tomorrow, we have to start early. We believe strength isn't just physical, it's mental, and our program is built on 5 pillars: honesty, open-mindedness, willingness, consistency, and patience. Those principles don't just build physical and mental strength, they create a formula for success anywhere when applied. This funding allows us to continue planting those seeds, expand our reach, and keep showing up for the youth and families who need it most. We're committed to the work, and we're doing it the right way. Thank you for your time, your trust, your support, and for believing in heavy breathing.
Thank you. Now we'll hear from Lisa Archibald, followed by Lisa Turner.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Lisa Archibald. I'm the Director of Community Programs at Vista Community Clinic. I'm here today to state our support for the 2026-27 Action Plan and all the recommendations for the program's funding, and share our appreciation to the city for our continued partnership with Vista Community Clinic. Included in the recommendations is support for Project Reach at Rancho Buena Vista High School. We've had some youth that wanted to come today, but one got called to work and the other one couldn't figure out his transportation. So I'm representing them. This fall, Project Reach will be celebrating its 30th year. So please look forward to an invitation on the different ways we're going to be celebrating the program. Project Reach at RBV High School started in 2009. So we're going on 17 years there. That started in collaboration with the school district. The youth and staff have changed a lot in 17 years, but the core of what Reach does has remained the same. It's a trusted, safe place for youth to thrive. It offers support for schoolwork, their friendships, their relationships, their family and home life, exposes youth to new experiences. We feed them every day. They take food home with them. It's really a one-of-a-kind program that makes a big difference. So thank you so much for your support.
Thank you. Now, next is Lisa Turner.
Good evening, Mayor Franklin and esteemed council members. As noted, I'm Lisa Turner, the Executive Director of Palomar Family Counseling Service. We are very grateful to the CDBG Citizens Advisory Committee for their time, energy, and diligent efforts in evaluating our application as well as others from our fellow community organizations here, and we're very grateful for the recommendation. For 70 years, Palomar Family Counseling Service has empowered and uplifted individuals in the city of Vista, as well as North County, by providing high-quality mental health services that foster resilience and well-being. The city of Vista has been a longstanding and steady partner, providing necessary resources to aid our team in meeting the mental health needs of low-income Vista residents. This year, we are enhancing our focus on social emotional learning challenges, or SEL challenges, for Vista children and youth. For the last several years, funding from the County of San Diego enabled our organization to target social emotional learning in multiple Vista schools with a very broad approach. With the passage of Proposition 1 in March of 2024, the Universal Screening and Prevention Service components that bolstered school culture will no longer be funded beginning in July 1st. This funding shift further strains resources for proactive SEL support in our local schools, and it leaves more students without timely screening or early support to address emerging emotional and behavioral health needs. If funded, we intend to put the city's dollars to excellent use. If students with SEL gaps, say those who frequently interrupt, who are unable to manage their emotions and their behaviors, who lack friends or are unable to work cooperatively with others, are identified early and provided with direct interventions such as individual support, social skill coaching, and peer learning groups that focus on things like emotional regulation, social awareness, friendship skills, responsible decision-making, we can greatly reduce the risks of further disengagement that in turn contributes to greater emotional distress. Every child possesses strengths, the capacity for positive growth, and early identification of needs helps us to be more responsive, efficient, and effective for this vulnerable population. Thank you in advance. We hope that we will continue to be able to get your continued support, and we are indeed grateful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And on Zoom, we have maybe Castro from Lifeline.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Mobby Castro. I'm the Chief Impact Officer for Lifeline Community Services, and I would like to thank the city and staff for continuously supporting community efforts to address housing and supportive service needs for our most vulnerable youth. At Lifeline, we serve over 25,000 individuals and families every year through a combination of behavioral health and economic development services. And our main campus is located in the heart of Vista, where we also have a very welcoming drop-in center for youth to access showers, a kitchen, a nice place to relax. They can recharge their phones, grab food from our food pantry, use the computer lab. Our team offers youth a trusted adult to provide mental health counseling and career counseling. And with this funding, we will be able to continue to serve transition-aged and young adults experiencing homelessness on their journey to self-sufficiency. So we're proud to be a partner with the City of Vista. And, we want everyone to know that we see the potential in all the youth that we serve. And we thank you once again for your support.
Okay, thank you to all of our public commenters and all of our CDBG applicants for all the good work they do in our community. Now we'll hear from Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, thank you so much to staff and to our commission for putting in a lot of work. It's just incredible that we're able to at least give a little bit of something to these organizations that really help create a strong community and enhance community well-being. So thank you to everybody who came and spoke and everybody who is being awarded for your daily efforts to make this community better. I have a question on the CIP portion of this, the $634,640. I noticed that one of the criteria that we're going to look at is high pedestrian volumes of those traveling to school. I'm just curious, it doesn't seem like there's any additional information as far as zeroing in on specific projects just yet. Can you tell me a little bit about that process?
Of course. So this is going to be based off the sidewalk prioritization list that's managed by the engineering department. And from there, we just see which of those sidewalks are eligible for CDBG funding.
Okay. And then we're going to use this criteria of high poverty rates, high population densities, and high pedestrian volumes of those traveling to school?
Correct.
Okay. And because I noticed that I didn't see that yet, so it seems like maybe the projects are going through a matrix right now, and then we'll have a list of them?
I believe the list was already brought, but I'll confirm and get that to you.
Okay. Yeah, if I could get that resent to me, because I know that the council also had a discussion when we were looking at our safer streets and the high injury network. I forget exactly what it's called, but it was like the HIT network, and where we could prioritize traffic calming and whatnot. So if I remember correctly, I think looking at safe routes to school was also one of the things that we wanted to see. So yeah, I just would love to take a look at that project list. I know that $634,640 is maybe not a lot of linear feet of sidewalk, but it definitely helps. So thank you so much, and I look forward to that information. With that, I'll go ahead and make a motion to close this public hearing and accept the proposed 2026 through 2027 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Melendez.
No, this one's actually
that
me
one's
this
you?
time, yeah.
Okay, you don't have the apostrophe and she does?
Not sure. I did press my button. I will wait, though.
I was going to second it and just say thank you for the work and to all the partners that we have. And see, okay, so the apostrophe, if it shows up, is you. And if it doesn't, it's me, yeah. Which is weird because they put it on the wrong one.
Well, you did get an extra
But I appreciate the work on it. Anyway, I will second it really quick. Thank you for all the work on this. To our existing partners, congratulations. The work that all of you do is incredible. To our new partners that are getting included in this, congratulations as well. And Mike, specifically to you, I know the work that you're doing out there. I'm really happy to see you on this list because I know how tremendous it is in the work that you're doing. So just congratulations to everybody. And I know that a lot of thought went into this process, so I really do appreciate it. And I look forward to what comes from it.
Councilmember Melendez, are you in queue?
Yes. It's all good. No, thank you so much to our community partners for being here tonight, for making it possible to serve more members of our community. The city services, as robust as they are limited, right? Our real focus is to make sure that we have safe public right-of-way, to ensure that we have the proper development within our community. And we do have a limited scope as a city. Some of these areas where we're trying to respond to impacted youth, or we want to address specific areas of poverty in our community, we're not able to do that alone. So we're really grateful to reach out to you, to the community through you. And these are just a small amount of funds, right? And I really do want to emphasize that. You all work really hard in your compliance side of things, right, as nonprofits, to be eligible to receive these funds. And so I just want to say thank you for doing your part. There's a lot of hoops to jump through in order to be a nonprofit, and I'm sure that it's a great reward to receive support from the city, but never hesitate to reach out to us when you need more support. All the members of the council here, we really do support our local nonprofits. If you're having a fundraiser, if you're doing a community outreach event, you can reach out to me, and I'm sure my other council members, to support. And I just think it's really important because we do not always get a chance to support the causes and issues that are on this list. So I really appreciate you being here. And just in light of some of the comments that were made earlier, you are all helping us improve our social equity and make sure that everybody gets a chance to thrive in our community. And I just really want to specifically call out the Fraternity House as a space that cares for individuals with HIV and AIDS. Our government's response to the AIDS crisis in the 80s was a complete failure. And so many people in our community died because of that bigotry. But we can do better. And I think that having us all under one roof and being able to share some of our resources with our nonprofit partners, I think it helps us to correct some of those past mistakes. So I hope that we can continue to do better, and we're only able to do that because we have your help in this. Thank you so much.
Councilmember Fox.
Thank you. I wanted to thank the city and our Citizens Advisory Group for helping make some of these recommendations. And while they compile this list without, any council involvement up front on this, I have done some business with some of these awardees, so I'll be abstaining from the vote, but I just wanted to echo everything that the rest of my council said. Thank you.
Okay, very good. We have a motion and a second. Please go ahead and cast your votes.
Jeff, did you mean to abstain?
Okay, that item is approved with 4 votes, including Councilmember Melendez in favor and Councilmember Fox abstaining. And that'll bring us to our second public hearing this evening. Our public hearing regarding amendments to the Vista Municipal Code, Chapter 8.78, Vista's sidewalk vending requirements. The public hearing is now open. If any members of the public wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise their hand feature by pressing *9 or submitting a request to speak card. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Our Assistant City Manager, Imelda Huerta, will introduce the item.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight, we will be presenting on amendments to the Vista Municipal Code, Chapter 8.78, Sidewalk Vending Requirements. It is my pleasure to introduce our Assistant to the City Manager, Josh Sino Cruz, who will provide the report.
Good evening, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, and members of the City Council. Again, I'll be presenting tonight on tonight's public hearing regarding the amendments of Chapter 8.78 of the Vista Municipal Code related to sidewalk vending requirements. In 2018, the state passed Senate Bill 946, which established statewide standards for sidewalk vending and how cities can regulate vendors. In response, the city adopted Chapter 8.78 of the Vista Municipal Code in 2019. The ordinance created our local permitting process and established operational rules for sidewalk vendors. This includes requirements for a sidewalk vending permit, a business license, health permits, and rules on where and how vending can occur, such as maintaining clear paths to travel and avoiding restricted areas like near schools during certain hours, intersections and crosswalks, and locations that would block emergency or ADA access. The code requires vendors to operate in a way that protects public health, safety, and accessibility. New state requirements came into effect through Senate Bill 635 on January 1st, 2026. The law limits what cities can require as part of the sidewalk vending application process, particularly related to criminal history. As a result, we're updating our municipal code to stay consistent with state law. These changes remove requirements related to criminal history disclosure, live scan fingerprinting, permit denial criteria tied to criminal history, the ability to suspend or revoke permits based on criminal history, and the definition of specified crime, which is removed and no longer applies. Overall, these changes ensure our code is consistent with state law while still allowing us to regulate sidewalk vending. With that, staff recommends that the council open, conduct, and close the public hearing and adopt the ordinance amending our code to align the city's sidewalk vending requirements with state law. This concludes staff's presentation, and we're available to answer any questions. Thank you.
What other business license types do we require live scan or criminal history disclosure for?
Ice cream trucks? I believe it's for ice cream trucks, ice cream food vendors.
And I heard somebody say cannabis, and I know that's true. What other, is there? That's what no, that's all right. I was just asking, what other categories of business licensure do we require live scan or criminal background disclosure for?
So it was street vending, ice cream trucks, cannabis. Oh, maybe, I don't know if the massage parlors, perhaps?
Yep, that's correct. Massage.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Contreras?
All right. You know, I have a question. I know that the last time that the state updated this law, we updated it as well. But I'm just curious, do we have anything in the city of Vista as far as a resource that can just show somebody the easy 1, 2, 3 of how to, have permissible sidewalk vending? Yeah, I've ran into a lot of not permissible sidewalk vending that I gotta say, I have tried the food and it was good, but the thing is that it's not permissible. And, I've talked to folks about it before when I run into a non-permissible establishment. And I just don't know if, we could just make it clearer, make it easier. I don't know if this is a partnership that we can have with the chamber. One of the things for me that's really important is for someone to be able to take their side hustle and then actually put it into a regulatory fashion, because it provides more protection for them, right, at the end of the day. So if that's not something that we have, I would love to explore that. If it needs to come back as a council item, totally okay with that. But if that's something that, staff is able to do without us having to go through it a whole bunch, that would be great.
Yes, we can prepare a easy step handout for folks that want to get a permit.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, and if that could just be in English and Spanish. Thanks.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah,
I just
go
want
ahead.
to quickly add to that. We do have a current SOP, and we're always looking to simplify it and make it better. And we also have talked about doing a workshop here in the community room in English and Spanish to help vendors through that permit process as well.
Okay, yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I don't know, have we ever looked at the SOP for this?
We can definitely put it as part of the weekly update or send it to you all separately.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. Thank you. I would just like to review that, and if I do see something that I kind of want to talk about with the rest of my council, then I'll bring it as a discussion item. Thank you so much. With that, I'll go ahead and make a motion to close the public hearing and update our municipal code.
Mr. Chung, is there anything in our ordinance that says that portions of the ordinance that are inconsistent with state law are void?
It should. I'm looking at it right now, but technically, it's usually the last paragraph of the chapter.
While you're looking for that, I think Deputy Mayor O'Donnell wanted to be recognized.
Thank you. I will second, and I actually really appreciate you bringing that up, and I would love to partner with you on that, because these are opportunities that we talk about streamlining the process for small businesses, even vendors, and everything we can do to look at any codes or any permitting processes rather that we have that we can try and tighten up and make it easier like we did with the noise and all the other stuff would be great. So those are my only comments. So I just wanted to second it, but yeah, if you want to work on that together, I'm more than happy to.
Sounds good.
Okay, so Mr. Chung, it is already in the ordinance?
It's not in the ordinance. It's in the ordinance. It's not in the municipal code. Every time you enact an ordinance, there's a paragraph that's we call severability, and it states that if any provision is deemed illegal or superseded, then it's just removed, and it doesn't affect the rest of the ordinance.
And is that operative ex post facto? In other words, if the legislature changes the law after we pass our...
It would, if the state or the federal passes a superseding law, yes.
Okay, so the portion that so at this point, this is a cleanup initiative, or it's a cleanup measure. We are deleting a portion of the code that has been severed based on a change to the state law, and it is at this time void and inoperable. Is that correct?
Correct, and it would let the public know anyone who's reading this code for sidewalk vending that it's not applicable. So by removing it, we're making it clear if anyone's looking to apply for a sidewalk vending license that anything related to criminal background checks or fingerprinting is not applicable.
So do we have to, are we required to go that extra distance of making this known?
Under SB 635, we pretty much are, because they do want it to be kind of publicized that this is not part of the application process anymore.
What does the law say that the legislature passed with regard to compelling us to publicize the item?
It just says that basically local jurisdictions no longer have the ability to collect or require any of this criminal history background, can't use it as part of the application process, cannot require fingerprinting, live scan, or anything of the like as part of the application process.
Okay. I'm going to vote no on this just because I think we've already protected ourselves with our severability clause. This is already inoperable. I don't appreciate the legislature forcing this down on us. I didn't appreciate in 2018 when they forced these standards on us. We now have a problem where we are really, in all of our neighboring cities, are not able to adequately regulate street vendors. They've proliferated on every street corner, and it's beyond the reach of most of our cities to adequately enforce our codes. And the state has done this to us, and I don't appreciate this particular change. So I'm going to vote no on this because I don't find it to be necessary to be in compliance with state law. Because of the severability portion of our ordinance, we are already in compliance. We are already operating in compliance. And understand the need to clean up our code and remove language that's inoperative for consistency and clarity, but, and I would just add that if it were listed strictly as a cleanup and removal of inoperative language, I'd probably have been more inclined to vote for it. But the reasons I'm voting for it are what I just explained. So with that, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. I'm not worried about it. Okay, that item is approved with 4 in favor and 1 opposed. We'll take a 3-minute break here, as long as it takes for our students to get their forms signed and our city clerk to reboot the Crestron system. All right, we're going to muddle on through because I think we're equal to the task. Yeah, we can, if we need to. Absolutely, we can raise our hands. Let's get back on track here. We have 2 discussion items this evening. Our first discussion is regarding the joint use agreement with Vista Unified School District. If any member of the public wishes to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise their hand feature by pressing *9 or submitting a request to speak card. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Our Recreation and Community Services Director, Margaret Hamer, will introduce the item.
Good evening, Mayor Franklin, Deputy Mayor O'Donnell, and council members. I will be patient here for this to be pulled up. We're here this evening to discuss and review the Vista Unified School District Joint Use Agreement with the City of Vista. The background, I know it's loading here, but it's also in the report. The background is in November 2015, the original joint use agreement was completed and approved by council and the school board. August 30th, 2016, there was a first amendment to Luz Duran grass and picnic areas for the summer in exchange for 7 peach jar flyer programs. There was a second amendment on May 10th, 2017, once again for Luz Duran, but also Buena Vista Park overflow parking, Buena Vista Park athletic fields, Breeze Hill Park, and Luz Duran Park in exchange for 3 peach jar postings. We also included the city-recognized youth groups were added to include Vista Girls Softball and Vista National Little League as recognized by the city. On May 1st, 2018, there was a third amendment for the joint use agreement, again for Luz Duran Park. That was in exchange for 4 peach jar postings. Also in correspondence regarding this agreement was requesting to improve the scheduling process with the Wave Water Park. So that was a memo that was attached to this agreement. So in completion, there are only 3 amendments and 1 memo. Why have a joint use agreement? They are often one of the most effective ways to expand community access to parks, recreation, and educational spaces without building new facilities. There's also in the state of California, Title V in the Education Code, Division 1, California Department of Education, Chapter 13, School Facilities and Equipment, Subchapter 1.5, the Civic Center Act. The Civic Center Act provides the legal foundation for the City of Vista's joint use agreement with VUSD by allowing school facilities to be used for community purposes when not in use for education. In Vista, this enables the city to partner with schools to expand access to fields, gyms, multi-purpose spaces for recreation, aquatics, and cultural arts programming without the need for new capital facilities. Through a new clearly defined agreement, the city and Vista Unified can share responsibilities for scheduling, maintenance, and liability while prioritizing student use during the school day, and this collaboration will maximize public resources, increase access to programs for Vista residents, particularly youth, and supports equitable delivery of recreation and cultural services across the community. The purpose, as we had gone over already, is that to share assets. The City of Vista and Vista Unified can expand access to existing facilities, delivering more community benefit without the cost of building new parks. Again, I listed many of these amenities that we covered in the last slide, but they're quite robust. And why it matters is that Vista's population continues to grow, increasing demand for recreation space. Joint use can extend facility access by 30 to 50 plus additional hours per week. Shared agreements can reduce capital costs by millions compared to new park development. And most importantly, it promotes health, safety, and community connection across all ages. So for efficiency, the Play All Day for sites is very cost-effective to expand recreational access, maximize taxpayer investment, meet rising community needs without acquiring new land. We have a park ranger program. I know you're all familiar with it. We did just a snapshot of different uses in the spaces at the school district. And the sites where there is city shared use, you'll see, for example, Rancho Buena Vista High School. On Friday and over the weekend, you'll see everything from the fields being in use, 2 teenagers and coach using a discus ring, father-daughter using the softball fields in use by a couple of people, but you see active recreation happening. Unfortunately, on some of the other sites, there's no use, so they are closed down. Another example of our shared sites is VAPA, the Linda Rhodes Neighborhood Center and Park, which is next to that school. And once again, you see either children playing soccer, families using the playground, 2 groups of teenagers using the soccer field. After the school day, you'll see the Boys and Girls Club there using the gym, thanks to our agreement with them, but also using the basketball courts and teenagers playing in the soccer field. After the school day, there's many after-school programs that are using those spaces, but we know after the after-school programs, they are not actively used. The cost of use is quite robust. These are only estimates, but in general, especially since with Buena Vista and Breeze Hill, those sites are used throughout the school day. So if we took those number of hours and what that would cost if we were charging another organization, it would add up quite quickly. The use that is in the agreement with the city is 200 hours of time. In the past, we've used that for the gym, the school gyms, and I've estimated what that is worth. I know that peach jars have been used in the past, and I don't know if you're familiar with what the peach jar posting is. A peach jar is a marketing tool that the school districts use. So each school site will have, it's called a peach jar, and outside organizations can post their flyer on there. It's somewhat effective, but I wouldn't, it costs money, so there's a value to it. But to post on a peach jar for 7 peach jar postings is about $725. I thought it would be important to note there's other shared use that's outside of this agreement that should be noted, such as like in April at the Moonlight Amphitheater, we'll be hosting the Arts Under the Stars performers, which is wonderful. And also the school district worked with the city on doing the temporary fire station. And that's a property that's on the school district campus. So we do appreciate those. I do think if we were to retool a new agreement, it would be important to really keep it attached and not have outside ones and have one congruent ongoing agreement that all facilities that are shared and reviewed and approved are in one location. So at this point, I'd like to discuss and review what you would like to see, what's your vision and goal for a new agreement that we could have going forward. And of course, I share the different benefits for joint use. I mean, I think we all heard with the CDBG, all these nonprofits who are doing wonderful things for the community. There could be even more done if we were able to share some of these sites and facilities and amenities to enhance, and offer a more robust recreation opportunity for our community. So at this point, I am complete. Thank you.
Very good. Councilmember Fox, I saw your hand waving first, then the deputy mayor.
Perfect. Do we have any public speakers on this before I go?
Yes, thank you. We do. We have Joe Harris on Zoom, followed by David Copeland, followed by Johnny Ringo.
Yes, hello, council. I would like to say
This
that
is the same person as earlier.
are human, and I think that Jews are.
Cut this person off. David Copeland.
Yo, man, I fucking hate never.
Turn him off. I think we can assume that Johnny Ringo is the same person, but go ahead.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
This is the same caller. Shut him off.
No, it's not. I would very much like to speak tonight. I don't know who those other people are. Can you hear me okay?
This is the same caller. Shut him off. We'll have to figure out how to stop people from, I don't know how he's doing that with multiple connections, but we've got to figure out how to stop that. No, you all agree that was the same person on the last one? Yeah, of course. All right, I'm going to use my prerogative to close the opportunity for public hearing comments at this time on this item. Councilmember Fox.
Thank you, Mayor. We've had a lively meeting today.
Yes.
So, this is something that, I've been speaking with Dr. Doyle and some of the school board members for a little while about some opportunities. And so I'm glad that this, came to the agenda. I wanted to kind of throw out some of the ideas that, that I've been thinking about, but I'd love to get some from the rest of the council and see what we could come back to them with. There's been a couple meetings. So I kind of have it broken down into kind of three pieces on our side and then one piece on their side that I know that they're kind of interested in. And I think there's kind of the right time. I've heard some of our items that we've brought up when the joint use agreement comes up in them. I've heard some frustration along those lines. So I think it's a really good opportunity for us to kind of approach this right now and see what we can do. So the first tranche that I thought about was some of the existing properties. And the one that I had originally talked to the school board member about potentially partnering on was the Vista Magnet Middle School. It lines up right next to our downtown. So we had spoken about potential access from the downtown side to that field, and then having it open during non-school hours and accessible by the public. And I guess before I even get to that, there's a couple things that I really wanted to, other than just the properties themselves, but the list of assignability. I noticed that we had some agreements where we could assign our time to, say, girls softball or some of that. I think that needs to be developed as well. I know that The deputy mayor and I have been approached by, Rancho Buena Vista Little League and different baseball teams that have had to turn families away because they couldn't find fields. And so whenever I see open fields, it kind of makes me sad. And so having that ability to assign our joint use to somebody else, I think is going to be really important. And to make that process really streamlined, because I know that if there's a bunch of different people from different organizations trying to book the same field, that might get a little complicated. So that's another thing that I think we're gonna have to look at pretty early on. But on top of the Vista Magnet Middle School and some of the other existing properties that, I'm sure that everyone in their districts has some that they see that are underutilized that, would be great for the city to have, our residents to have access to. But Councilmember Contreras and I also did a couple tours of the Beaubier Elementary School, and they told us in our tour multiple times that their community center, as well as some of those fields, were designed with joint use in mind. And so even if this was, even if that would have to be a conversation, we'd need to have it at some point anyway. So that one was another one that I think is pretty straightforward. But on top of that, there's also, on the city side, I know that they've did a tour of the Avo Theater, having some interest in potentially having some of their students be able to do their plays in our downtown, which I actually thought was a really cool idea, because these drama programs, practice all year, and so being able to take their play and doing it in our downtown and invite the public actually sounded like a really cool idea. So that was another one that I thought would be really great. On top of that, there's the 2 new vacant school properties that I think everyone's talking about. And that is something that I think if we start partnering with them on that now, it maybe lets us have some sort of say in conversation about the direction of those, especially if there's some sort of joint funding on some sort of joint use going into it. So if we're able to say, create some more sports fields and a sports park, something like that, and we go into it together, maybe that will help use it for something more public related. And then lastly, I know they had brought up the idea of having pools on school campuses. And I know that's been a conversation that we've been having for quite a long time. So the need for additional pools and lap swimming and things like that. So that, they threw it out as potential vocational work, workforce development, things like that as well, for diving programs and stuff like that for the community. So they threw out a lot of different ideas when I was speaking to them. It kind of turned from like a small conversation to bigger and bigger and bigger. And so I was really excited to see how interested they were in looking at this agreement and how many cards they were putting on the table on this and putting it. And I think, a good portion of this might have to do with the bond that they're trying to pass, and the fact that if we are going to be able to do some joint funds on things, that makes a lot of that look a little bit better. So I think this is kind of the perfect time to have this discussion and, to have some power in the negotiation, if you say. So that's pretty much it for me. I mean, I just really wanted to hear if some ideas from the rest of the council, if anyone else has any, thing that they'd want to add to this list. There's probably quite a few other things in this. This is just scratching the surface. So with that, I will yield back.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. My first one right off the bat, and I appreciate this last page of I want every single gymnasium and sports field accessible to our youth at all times. Let me take that back, not at all times. Anytime they're not in use or an event is not, or a school activity is not taking place after school hours, they should be accessible. One of the things that frustrates me more than anything is I've secured Little League fields for practice or helped facilitate that for our Little League teams, but the process to do that was not easy. And we need to streamline and make sure that the accessibility is there, because I think they've turned down hundreds of kids this year for some of the leagues, and they've had to go to Oceanside or other neighboring cities, and that should never, ever happen. So any gymnasium or any sports field or athletic field, I should say, I would like access to. The second thing would be cool zones. We only have 2 in the city of Vista. So gymnasiums, cafeterias, when school events are not taking place, or after hours, that would be another priority that I think that we should put into any partnership we have. My favorite line in here is maximize existing public assets avoids millions in land acquisitions and park development costs. So what I'd like to look into is how large the softball fields are at Brangle Terrace Park and see if they're large enough to be regulation for Little League Baseball. And if they are, move the adult softball leagues to, whether we have to rotate the properties when they're not in use. I know that you can't have home games every single week. So if we can move them onto high school facilities or diamonds that are owned by the school or Vista Unified, that way we can kill two birds with one stone, and that we can keep those leagues open, and we can also create an opportunity to get more games and availability for baseball fields here in Vista. I don't know if we can do that. I don't know the logistics, but I can assure you it is much more cost-effective to convert those two fields if they're regulation than it would be to acquire land and try and build on 4 acres of land, new baseball fields. So those are my 3 big things. I know that there will be more from the council, but those are the ones that I really wanted to see done if we can get those into an agreement. To the point about any future projects that might come before us or joint funding ventures, I know that that would probably be contingent upon a bond measure going through and what might come down the pipeline. So I think that the early stages of that would be a good time to start discussing now, but we have no idea if that bond measure is going to get through or passed, even if it gets on the ballot. So, but I appreciate that comment and agree that we should be looking into it. But those are my big ones for now. If I think of anything else, I'm sure other council members have some thoughts, but I appreciate this very much.
Thank you.
Any other, Councilmember Contreras?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like there's a lot of room to create a new agreement that encompasses a lot more facilities, and we can activate those spaces for our youth and our family to enjoy. I'm also curious where this, if there is any intersection with our Parks Master Plan and the facility use. I think, you know, tying this back to that effort to see any overlaps or any potential recommendations there is important to do. And then when it does, when it comes to having a joint use agreement, how does the public even know what is available to them? So, you know, I'm a big fan of always having GIS layers, and I looked on the GIS, I didn't see anything under any category for like joint use agreement. But that's also not one of the best ways to have the public access that information, although I still think it could potentially be an important layer on there for someone who does know to look at that. But I would love to be able to create a little bit more cohesion between what we have available and how the public can understand when it is available. And to add to that point is if there's any way to have some kind of a calendar, it seems like that would have to be, you know, an effort between Vista Unified School District and the city. But I think that that's a critical component because that usually calendars are very easy for the public to utilize. And, you know, for instance, I have no idea what's available right now, you know, but if I had a link that had a calendar for it, I could just, you know, Google that or go to the city website and use the search feature and find it. So just wanted to add that as food for thought. And I do agree with the previous comments that my colleagues made, but that's all I have at this point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Seeing no other requests to speak, let's see. We're just seeking direction here. Okay, all right, very good. We're going to move on to our last item, which is a discussion regarding the Avenida de Benito Juarez Pocket Park. If any members of the public wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise their hand feature by pressing *9 or submitting a request to speak card. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Director Hammer will introduce this item also.
Thank you again for allowing me to present our next item. And this is for the Avenida de Benito Juarez Pocket Park, which has been presented to council before in the past. Some of the brief background is this project did start in February 21. many different steps each of the different years, with the last step being August 13th, 2024, when design concept number 2 was approved by this council, and staff went back to take some bids and do the research and look into the potential of creating and designing this concept 2. For the location, this is the street and mapping for you to see. It's approximately 0.22 acre pocket park located at the northwesternly corner of Avenida de Benito Juarez and Avenida de la Plaza. This is a slide I added because I think it's also important to give context to the site. The Boys and Girls Club is just down the street, as well as the VAPA School is just around the corner. So it's really situated well in the community to create a placemaking spot for our youth and families. This is the current condition of the site. You can see it's used to go through, that people are traveling through that, so you'll see that trail that's kind of naturally happened, as well as a very distressed tree. So currently, this is the preliminary concept plan. The Office of Grants and Local Services has some required project amenities that have been incorporated into this design. The list is there. And what we're here this evening to discuss is the additional requested amenities. At the 2024 meeting, you wanted to add a restroom, so that is now in place. And a water feature was discussed, and we're proposing, if you are interested, in a water misting area. So these additional requested amenities for the restroom, it is a prefabricated single-stall restroom. It's approximately $256,000, and that is similar to the Paula Vista Park. We are proposing a water misting area with the feature, which is approximately $215,000. The misting only feature is considered due to the size, the pocket park size, and it would not use recycled water, instead would use a flow-through domestic water to waste option, and that's approximately 15 gallons per minute, and the approximate cost on maintenance and operations is $12,000 a year. I know a splash pad was mentioned, so we just want to make sure you realize the recirculation system, which is normally used for splash pads, because of the use of the volume of water that's used with those, is not compatible for the site. The space allocated will not support a recirculating water system, pump and filtering system. So this elaborates more on why not a splash pad, but as I had shared, it's primarily just water conservation and the size of the space. And with more research I had done, when you have a splash pad, the CDC recommends testing the water every 2 hours. So if we were in the future to look at a splash pad, as a professional, I would recommend that we also assign a staff member, whether it's in Public Works or through Recreation and Community Services, who manages the water similar to a public pool.
That's when you have a recirculation system.
That's when you have the recirculation system, yes. So the grant deadlines, which is why we're here tonight, is to let you know of the urgency. Construction needs to be completed by December 31st, 2027. Final paperwork submitted by January 2028, and the contract liquidates in June 30th, 2028. So to meet these deadlines, we need to have a design team on board, and we're hoping to bring that contract to you in April for that approval. To review tonight is the option of the restroom, as well as the water misting feature. And we also wanted to discuss the color schemes, the consideration of a park name, and the potential of that tree to be removed when the construction project begins, because staff are concerned it will be the roots will be compromised and it may potentially have to be removed anyway, and we'd like to incorporate it into the final design. So, and before we jump into conversation, I also wanted to share for the color schemes, our Parks and Rec Commission also reviewed it, and there was public comment taken in November 2023, and blue and green was one of the color schemes that were emphasized. And for the park name, it was also shared that perhaps working with the Boys and Girls Club and the local school, we could have the children incorporate the name for the park so that they can have an attachment to that place. But by all means, this is up to you, and I pass it back.
Any public comment? We'll close the opportunity for public comment on this item. I'm just going to throw something out there, which is I noticed that the path that's been cut by the pedestrians is cut off by the pedestrian access. That's, if you could pull back up the overhead design that we were looking at. I just thinking there's obviously a higher pedestrian traffic here, and is there, I'm asking this sincerely, is there anything negative about these pedestrians being able to walk through the park on their way to get, I don't know if that's a detriment to children playing in the park. I mean, they're walking, you know, otherwise we're going to force them to walk the corner. But sometimes a stroll through the park is nice. I can't think of any reason right now why that would be a detriment to the use of the park, that people would be able to walk through it. But if I was walking through that park every day at that angle, I would think, man, I'm going to walk down all the way to the corner. Why not make it a place for those people that walk on that angle to enjoy and accommodate that use?
I had the exact same thought and brought up the same thing. It was brought to my attention for safety purposes. This park does need to be fenced, you know, so that children who are playing or if they're throwing something, they don't go out into the street and get hit by a car. So the goal was to have fencing and then just one entry. Also, like if you're a mom or a grandmother and you're with multiple children and trying to keep track of them.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that exit and entry. So I had the exact same thought as you, though.
Well, that's why I asked, because I didn't know what I didn't know. So this tree is not dead, you're saying. Looks like it's been deprived of adequate source of water, though. Or our arborist hasn't looked at it, we don't know.
I know our Public Works arborist did look at it and says it's in pretty bad shape and they're recommending it be removed.
Okay. They always want to take the trees out.
I do have a copy of the recommendation. I think the other part of it is that the construction, because of the roots of the tree, will jeopardize the health of the tree. And I was told for the Paula Vista Park, that's what happened. There was an oak tree with, you know, visions. Of course, nobody wants to remove a tree, and they kept it, and it ended up dying. Often, just the construction alone is what brings trauma to trees.
It certainly doesn't look like it's in good shape. Okay, let's see who's got thoughts and comments. Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, thanks for all the work that went into this. This is a Prop 68 park. Really glad that we're moving forward with it, and there's just a few more items to review, I think, before we're able to put this into play. So one thing that I just want to discuss about the site of the park is that we need better lighting within a quarter mile of this park. This is going to be a park that folks in the neighborhood are going to be able to utilize and walk to, but this is also an area that is significantly missing lighting. And as stated, this is a corridor for the Boys and Girls Club as well, and when there's only so much parking at the Boys and Girls Club, so even for events where there's overflow, I've had to park over here, and it's very difficult to navigate as a pedestrian because of the lack of sidewalks and the lack of lighting. So I do see that we're going to be, at least in this around the park, adding sidewalks, but there's definitely the opportunity to bring more improvements to enhance the connectivity of this park to the residents in a real safe way. I want to just mention something about this tree. I understand it's not in good shape and we're going to cut it down, and there's a lot of different reasons to cut it down, but I would implore the council for us to do some historical review of this tree, because I have heard an anecdote from one of the families that still lives here that this tree was planted by one of the brothers who has since passed away. I can't remember if his name is Henry, but I'm thinking if we do remove it, maybe we put a little plaque there. And I can put you into communication with someone who knows a little bit more about this, but it is ringing a bell in my mind as I look at this tree that I had a conversation with a few folks about how they used to play as kids in this lot. The other thing is, I think that the name is too long. I would be comfortable with just Benito Juarez Pocket Park. A lot of folks know this area, and they just call it Benito Juarez. So I think that would be great to just name it that. And I appreciate Deputy Mayor O'Donnell in the last discussion you brought up cool zones, and this is definitely an area where a lot of folks, some of these older homes don't have air conditioning and whatnot. I understand why a splash pad maybe is just not going to fit with this park, but I am curious about the misting area. So the $215,000, that's correct me because I'm just trying to get a better understanding. So do we have that funding available for this, or is that an additional funding that we would need to appropriate for it?
That is additional funding that would need to be appropriated.
Okay, and then we would also probably want to appropriate some kind of a maintenance funding package to go along with that, because I see that the annual maintenance is $12K. If we tie that to CPI or something, I'm just being able to understand how we can ensure maintenance and safety, right? Because that's a component of a water misting areas for it to be safe. I still would want to explore that. It sounds like, well, let me ask this question. Do we have the ability, because we're on a tight timeline right now, do we have the ability to kind of have it ready for a water misting area, but if the council needs more time to discuss that, then we can discuss that feature? Or can you just give me staff's perspective on that?
So at this point, because the design is being finalized and this element does need to be decided on tonight because it will impact how the park is designed. So tonight's the night.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm going to advocate in favor of a water misting area. I think a lot of the residents would find a lot of relief utilizing this type of amenity. And so, I would love to hear from the rest of my council how you feel about it, but I think there's definitely a need here. This is also an area that doesn't have a lot of shade. There's not a lot of tree canopy. There's high density around it. And I think it's important to incorporate that. Outside of those comments, so the green space here, are we going to have AstroTurf, or is this going to actually be grass?
I'll let our...
It hasn't been decided yet. So if you have a preference, it hasn't been decided yet.
Okay, my preference is that we go with grass. I know it's more expensive, but we also, again, just looking at the heat, we know that it's very difficult when it comes to some kind of a synthetic alternative, that they typically get very, very hot. And the more green space that we can have that's more traditionally green is good. And I'm also concerned, there's a lot of pets in this area. So if we were to have AstroTurf or some kind of synthetic turf, I'm concerned about the maintenance of that turf. So I think some green grass with a misting area is a great accommodation for the folks that live around here and that will love and utilize this park probably on a daily basis. Outside of that, thank you so much. I know that we've been talking about this park and looking forward to moving it along. And I'll leave it to my council to have any other recommendations, and maybe we can just have, maybe we don't need a motion, maybe we'll just have consensus. So, thanks.
I like the water misting feature too. Can we utilize a cistern to collect the water and use it for irrigation on the property?
Go ahead.
I
I'm going
I
to
will
let
answer
Jeanette
that.
address that.
Not collecting the water, because then it has to be treated and cleaned and everything, but you
Well,
can direct it
you're
to.
thinking of recycling the water.
Yes, so.
That's not what
okay,
I'm
yeah.
talking about.
Directing
So,
it to irrigation.
yeah, so a cistern is a tank you put in the ground and it collects water runoff. And then when you go to irrigate, you pump first out of that. When that runs empty, then it begins to pull off the city's water system or the VID water system. I don't think we have anybody in the room who's really much an expert on that thing, that concept, but could we investigate that?
We could definitely investigate that.
Because there's absolutely a way to catch that water. I mean, a lot of
Yes.
people, in fact, I think some municipalities are actually requiring now, you have your gutters run off into a cistern, and then you can pump out of that cistern and irrigate with that water before you draw off the public water supply. Just a way to
I know
capture
the
it.
site is very small, and with the sewer easement running through, there's a lot of, like, there's not as much room for underground
Mhm.
holding. That's why the splash pad was not an option. But definitely using that water runoff for irrigation is preferred.
Yeah, I mean, if
don't know
it's not
about
cost
holding
prohibitive,
tank.
if there's a low tech, particularly if there's a low tech, I wouldn't want to spend $1 million to do it.
Yeah.
But if there's a low tech solution, I just would say, if it's the council's pleasure, if we could just investigate the low tech option of how to recover that water, and then we could let people know that we're being water friendly, because that runoff from that misting feature could then be used to irrigate, and then everybody would be happy that it wasn't being wasted.
Yeah, I would just like to lend a second to what you're saying, Mayor. If there is any way to utilize this water, I think that's perfect, and it could be, even an educational point that's put, in this park. And maybe there's a gray water system. Maybe I don't know what it is, but something that we could do that's permissible within code and that is easy maintenance. I feel like there's a way, there has to be a way to do it. So I appreciate you making those comments, Mayor, and I second you in those.
Councilmember Fox?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, that actually sounds like because that was one of my kind of concerns with it. I was like, it just feels weird dumping, gallons, like a shower, basically running constantly nonstop on a city property. It's like, I feel like it's kind of not a good look, but yeah, you push the button. Yeah. So are there any other properties in the area where there is potential for some sort of water feature? Is like, if this one's kind of, we're squeezing something in and it's not really a fit and we're trying to make it work, but it doesn't really, if there's another property in the area, like a park or anything that has potential for it, is there anything like that?
There could be in the future. There's not a project right now that I could say we would assign to it, but I know that that is a desire of the council. So I think, anytime a new park space is being developed, that will come to the table. It was also mentioned in the master plan, so I know they're quite popular. The misting is a lighter watering, and, you're hearing that the investigation will happen, but there's no guarantee here. And the difference is that it's a misting effect, it won't be just water dumping down. There's public perception, but there's also the benefit of it will cool people off. And I don't believe it will operate year round. It will be during the summer months when children are out of school and
That helps a little.
certain times, not year round.
Yeah, that definitely helps as well. And I do agree that if we're gonna having ample trees and shade and things like that for this location is gonna be important either way. But I'm not the hugest proponent of splash pads everywhere, but in this location in particular is where I kind of think it actually makes sense. So that's where I was kind of like, if there's one in this specific area, that'd be a conversation I'd be happy to have. I don't know if any of the other council has any ideas on that, but because that's kind of my only concern is if we're trying to, if we want a splash pad here and it doesn't fit, and then we're going to use this, that maybe that prevents us from wanting to do a splash pad, at a Luz Duran or something like that in the future. So other than that, color-wise, I'm open. I think that the commission's recommendation on that sounds fine. I liked the idea of letting the kids name it. I think that's fun. It also is a little terrifying, but I'm sure that'll come back before us before we stamp it on anything, right?
It would be a top 3 names and you would decide. But again, I think naming it by the street is also a benefit because it calls out to the location.
100%.
So
And if we could like maybe put some ideas to the kids for them to vote for or something like that and have that one of the options, let them, that'd be totally fine too. Because I do think that that's not a bad idea, is just naming it the location so everyone knows what park you're talking about and everything. But if we can honor some historic Vistans, like the one that planted the tree, or, something like some cool stories like that, that sounds fun too. So on the tree side, if we're afraid it's going to die anyway, I think it's fine to, maybe we figure out a way to plant another tree in the area and honor it, in honor of the family that planted it and everything. But, if there's I think that that's totally, rather than try to save one that might be kind of on its last leg and anyway. So, okay, well, I think that's it for me. I think, everything else sounded like, I was in consensus with the rest of the cat. Oh.
there will definitely be trees in the design, and the goal will be to have them be California native trees, so that will just elevate the environment and the wildlife and that type of thing.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, great ideas. I'm just going to throw this out there. It may not be popular, but I'm fine not giving it off to the kids to name it. I love the Boys and Girls Club, I really do, but I feel like it's just going to prolong the process. And if they want to give input, I'm happy to receive it. But I like the idea of just keeping it simple and naming it after the street. The other thing is, I know that daylighting exists at every street corner. I want the curbs painted red outside the park within the 20 feet zones or 25 feet zone, whatever it is. I think that any existing park that goes in, the same thing should happen. If there's any areas throughout the city, we should probably evaluate that. If it's near a stop sign where there's an entrance to a park, just make sure no one's parking there. So there's just that much more room in case a child does make it out into the street before anything were to happen. Temperature settings, I think, if it's 65 in August, which is I know unusual, we don't need a mister running, that's just my own thing. And then crazy thought, we just had the Arts Commission here tonight. That's a lot of wood in that tree. Perhaps they can create something, or there might be an artist in the city of Vista that would want to make a sculpture out of that existing tree, and we can put it somewhere in the park, protected. Maybe it's above a play structure, or maybe it's somewhere in that area. Just make sure it's put a bunch of lacquer on it so it doesn't, or whatever you do now to treat wood so it doesn't dissolve over time. But I think that'd be a really interesting way to honor the memories of the tree and also just keep the history of it alive in that park while as things change, you can keep the memories alive. So those are all my comments, and I appreciate the council input on it.
Councilmember Contreras.
I just wanted to offer some words to Councilmember Fox in your inquiry about if there's another property within the vicinity. I'm not aware of a property that we own, but definitely I'm always looking for properties to acquire, to expand our green space in areas that are dense and continuing to get more dense. It's critical for us to review that. So just wanted to offer you that. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, seeing no other requests to speak, we will conclude this item. You've got direction.
So I just want to make sure I'm clear. What I have is we need to look at the lighting. We will look at the street lighting around the park. I'm getting the name is Benito Juarez. We're going to go with that. We are going to install the water misting station. We'll bring that back with the construction contract with a budget for maintenance. Shade tree canopy we will include in the design. We'll look at the plaque option and talk to the family. Any grass will be over fake turf. I don't know that we're going to have a lot of grass here because I think the bathroom's going to take up most of that space, but we will look at that. And the mayor's cistern idea for the irrigation, we'll evaluate that and bring that back as part of the construction contract.
Don't forget my tree sculpture.
The tree sculpture, I got that. Paint the red curbs. And the colors are okay with green and blue. All right, did I miss anything?
As far as the name of the park, I'm okay with this as a working title, kind of like Pala Vista is still a bit of a working title, but I would want to just set it into the conversation in the historical record that basically we're using this name for the moment as a placeholder, and if a future council wants to name this after somebody of some consequence or contribution to the city, that we would reserve that right. This is not something that we've invested great thought into. So if we could make a note that this is the council agreed to move forward expeditiously with this as a working title and leave open-mindedness to the idea of future naming activities.
Mayor, if I may, I am very serious. Like, if there's a good name that comes from the Boys and Girls Club, like, let us know. You know, I'm open to changing the name. I just think it's simpler rather than putting it out as a, let's discuss these 15 names and figure out which one.
We have some time there during the design process to ask, and we'll bring that back when we award the construction contract.
Parky McParkface is still available. That was a top suggestion for Palo Vista Park. Okay, staff comments. Anything from our city clerk's office tonight? City attorney.
Interesting meeting. Thank you.
Yeah.
Enjoy your vacation.
I have a couple things. One, I want to thank all the council members for showing up to our employee awards on Friday. We had a lot of nominees. It shows the, I think, respect and support for all of our employees from our fellow employees, so thank you for attending that. I want to wish Walter a happy birthday on Friday.
Happy birthday,
He's
Walter.
taking time off. Good for him. I want to apologize for our speaker button mishap tonight. We'll get that fixed for the next meeting, and that's my report. Thank you.
Councilmember Fox.
Thank you. I'll keep it brief today. Thank you to my council for having such productive conversations today. It is Taco Tuesday, as usual, so go enjoy a delicious taco. And I love my wife very much, so I will hope to see her soon. Thanks.
Councilmember Melendez.
Yes, thank you everyone for the wonderful meeting tonight. I wanted to share a few updates. We have our Clean Energy Alliance Board of Directors meeting this Thursday, and I have the wonderful opportunity to join the staff of CEA at the Clippers game at the Front Wave Stadium on Friday as one of the sponsors in the stadium, and we'll have the opportunity to join some of the players on the court for some ceremonial action. And just really get out there in the community and celebrate all of our renewable energy programs. We also are continuing to amplify our cost savings programs as well as our rate relief programs in response to SDG&E's increases. Clean Energy Alliance is continuing to offer rate relief to our customers. Thank you all for enduring such heinous remarks during the program today. I wanted to address some misinformation about what Black Americans have been able to contribute to this country, including very important to the city of Vista, which is the 3-light traffic signal was created by a Black American, Garrett Morgan. And we have 3 new traffic signals being installed in the city of Vista in the coming weeks. So that is so much to celebrate thanks to a Black American. Thank you.
Councilmember Contreras.
Well, I had a wonderful time at the Sandag Board Retreat. It was in Hamul, the casino and resort. And, you know, it's really critical that we always review our public transit system. So I took it upon myself to actually get there via public transit. I had to start at 5 a.m. at the Vista Transit Center. The Sprinter was just slightly late, but I still made it to my coaster with time to spare. Then from there, I went to catch the trolley to El Cajon, the Green Line, and then I went for my first time ever to the El Cajon Transit Center, and it was jam-packed with people. And I took bus 894 to Hamul, and there were only 2 seats left, believe it or not, and not everybody got off at the casino. Some folks were there. It looked like a cool little group. They were going backpacking, I think. I don't know where they were going, but they didn't get off where I got off. And I will tell you one thing. I did bring up the fact that there are very few planned assets in North County, and the fact that the Inland Rail Trail does not have all the funding that it needs to be completed, at least through the Vista portion, is laughable and ridiculous. So I brought that up, and it seems that there is a lot of consensus in North County to ensure that we finish the Inland Rail Trail, because I want to be able to ride it in less than 10 years. And it's not, you know, we were able to build our bike network much faster than Sandag. So I'm going to continue to be advocating for that. I think it's critical for our families in North County to be able to recreate in the Inland Rail Trail and connect to the different cities. I've been able to use it to go to cool different spots, in San Marcos and Escondido, but unfortunately, in my own city, it's not completed. So in any case, if anybody has any ideas or anything that they would like for me to advocate at Sandag, please let me know. It's my honor to represent the city there and really push for more funding and better circulation here in North County. Thank you, everybody, so much, and I hope you all have a good night.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell.
Perhaps we should just build the Inland Rail Trail.
I know.
And send them a bill. I think that'd be a great thing to do. Good shout out on the traffic signals. For those that live on Dawson and Melrose or near there, it will be activated next week. I can say that? Okay. So it will be active next week, and you will have a working signal at that intersection. It's going to be great. I am hosting a town hall on April 19th from 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. here in the Morris Vance Community Room at the Civic Center regarding e-bikes and community safety. So please come out. We're going to have Captain Malin there to discuss some things. San Diego Bike Coalition is going to give a short presentation, and it's going to be a community discussion to see what we can do. And I have a few ideas, but I need to run them by Walter because apparently there's a couple hiccups in those. So beyond that, Walter, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
We're not going to sing happy birthday to you, though. No, let's do it. Let's do it.
We've sang the 10th birthday.
You want to do happy birthday? All right, Walter doesn't want it.
What a shame.
That is a shame. And then, so it'll be in the Morris Community Vance Room, so please show up to that. We'll have a good discussion. Enjoy your trip, Walter, wherever you're going. And the last thing, and to my wife, I will be home early tonight. I love you very much, Allie, and thank you for taking care of the boys tonight. The last thing I will close with, I was absolutely disgusted by the comments that opened this chamber to the students that were here, to all of the public that were here. I don't believe any of us stand for or with anybody that uses that language or believes those thoughts. It's disgusting, it's vile, it's repugnant, sorry, and it has no place in a civil society. So it is unfortunate that it happened, and I know that, to echo the mayor's point, I know we will be working to ensure it doesn't happen again. Beyond that, you all have a great Tuesday night.
Thank you very much. By sharing your thoughts and comments about the individual who disrupted our meeting with racist and violent and completely inappropriate remarks. We certainly will examine how we can prevent that in the future, and want to have a bit of a First Amendment review and make sure we're completely consistent with the First Amendment, but also not allowing anybody to spew that kind of hateful speech and violent, whatever the heck it was idiocy. It sounded like a moron. On happier thoughts, we want to acknowledge the city employees who were the winners of the Mayor's Excellence in Service Award, John Torres. We had Chris Schuchart, Manager of the Year, and Shelby Coffrun, Employee of the Year, big award, voted on by all the former employees of the year. So from a very trustworthy source, yeah, a round of applause for all those employees. Absolutely. Yeah, the City Council and I look forward to recognizing these employees at an upcoming meeting. We'll do that soon. We want to say thank you to them and all of our city employees for their continued dedication and service to our residents. It's Jaime, that's 45 years, right? What's Jaime's last name? Osorio. Yeah, Jaime Osorio, especially for his 45 years. That's pretty incredible. We've got a great city and a great organization. As we said the other night, we really appreciate our city management team and all of our employees for contributing to the great culture here. As always, thank you to my beautiful wife for allowing me to serve the people of Vista. And Walter, this is your birthday song. It doesn't last too long. Hey, there you go. All right. Have a good night, everyone.